Welcome in, everybody. Let's talk about some dynasty football here. We're going over a one quarterback league. We're doing over our first 12 picks, which is the first round in a rookie draft. Can't wait to get into it. Let's get it. All right, coming in here at number 12, we're going over Aundre estimate here. I really do enjoy this running back out of Notre Dame. He has a bruising style type of running. He has a north and south really go. He's just a get it type of guy. Love the way he runs with the ball, contact balance out of the wazoo. He has a lot of yards after the catch. He just has defenders bouncing off of him left and right. He could really be a 3-down back here in the NFL. I mean, he had 209 carries for 1,341 yards and 18 touchdowns, which give him a 6.4 average. I really do like that. He even had 17 receptions for 142 yards, which had an average of 8.4 yards per catch. And all this is really awesome for a guy of his size. And we're talking about 5'11", 227 pounds. I mean, he had to share the backfield each and every year that he had, except for this 1 year. And then he showed that he really could carry the load there at Notre Dame. Now, he hasn't really showcased his receiving skills as of yet, but we have to remember Notre Dame is really a run-heavy type of offense. I think Estimate does have to work on a little bit of his elusiveness and his lateral movement, but a lot of that comes just due to how big this guy is. I mean, he's kind of like a big bowling ball just running through the lane. I think he can be very productive in the NFL. Let's move right along here at number 11, going over Keon Coleman, the Florida State wide receiver, big body type of wide receiver. I do like some of the things that Keon Coleman has going for him. A lot of people have him a lot earlier in their rankings. I have him down at 11 as of right now. And just to let you guys know, these things can change. You never know. This is one of the first inclinations that I'm going to have over these rookies as I'm doing my film work and looking at things and just kind of really divvying all this out of who's going to be where. Things can change up and down all off season. But going over Keon Coleman again, his size and his frame, he's a really big type of receiver, especially at 6'4", 215 pounds. He had 658 yards on 50 receptions for 11 touchdowns. He averaged 13.2 yards per catch last season. So I think overall pretty good. We saw him at 83% on the outside. Only played 17% in the slot, so he's definitely that X type of receiver on the outside. He has the ability to really high point a lot of these balls. The tracking ability is really, really good. Great body control, good hands. He's good in the red zone, which is what a lot of teams may want to use him for. And he's really a contested catch monster. The guy can go up and get it, and 9 out of 10, he's probably coming down with the ball. Some things he really needs to work on, though, is really his route tree. He needs to develop more of a route tree. We really just see a lot of the things he's just going up in the field, going down the field, jumping up and catching the ball. He's got questionable physicality for his size, which just puzzles me sometimes. Some plays, he's really, really strong. Other plays, he's just getting pushed around all the time. He has difficulty in really creating separation because he doesn't have that big speed like a lot of these other receivers have. He just has a big frame and a big ability to be up there to go and just catch the ball. The problem is just sometimes he wants to, and sometimes it seems like he's kind of taking some plays off, which I don't really like from Keon Coleman, which is why I haven't ranked so far down here. And we have to remember he's never had more than 800 receiving yards in a season. So Keon Coleman, 6'4", 215 pounds. He's just another receiver for me. I think, he can have some good splash plays type in the NFL, but as of right now, I don't have him ranked way up here in my rankings as of right now. But let's move over here to number 10. We have Thomas Jr out of LSU coming in here. I really do like this wide receiver as well. He's an athletic type of guy, really quick feet, explosive vertical threat from what I can see with great body control. He has that high point ability with those long arms, and he can track the ball very, very well. He had 60 receptions for 1,079 yards and 15 touchdowns, which gave him an 18-yard average per catch. Love it. Again, one of those guys who really works on the outside, had 88% out wide, only 12% in the slot, but 6'4", 205 pounds. He's really, really good wide receiver plays for this LSU Tigers offense. He has a large catch radius. He had over 1,000 receiving yards, like I said, and 15 touchdowns as the number 2 wide receiver behind Neighbors. He's a wide receiver we're going to talk about here in a little later, but like I said, he's just a big body wide receiver. He's got those natural hands that can get up there and make a play when you need to. So I think the biggest downfall for Brian Thomas would probably be his yards after the catch. Really not creating much separation once he catches the ball. He catches the ball and he's pretty much going down. He doesn't really. One of the things I have to say that really annoys me about Brian Thomas, because he has so much talent, is he doesn't immediately secure the football after catching it. He leaves the ball really hanging out there, and in the NFL, it's going to give a lot of defenders time to just knock the ball loose. He needs to catch the ball and immediately just tuck it into his body and secure that ball. That'd make me feel a lot better about Brian Thomas. Coming here at number 9, we're going over Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas, 6'1", 172 pounds. He's extremely fast. He's a very good route runner. He's got good vision in the open field. He had 969 yards receiving on 73 receptions, 5 touchdowns, which gave him a 13.3 average per catch. So he's very slippery type of wide receiver. You know, he's got that quick first step off the line of scrimmage. He can play on the outside and he can play in the slot. He's very good at tracking the ball, tracking ability. But what I would say is he needs to add more weight. At 172 pounds, we have to think about, you know, staying healthy. You know, physical corners can easily knock him off balance. We see that in college, and you know you can see that in the NFL. Worthy really needs to concentrate more, mostly on his drops, because every time I see him on his film, he's just wanting to make a move too early. You know, he's got that speed. He just wants to make a play, and sometimes you see him turn his head and want to run up the field too fast. He needs to worry about catching the ball, securing the ball, and then making a move. And once he does that, I think he'll be very good. But again, the biggest knock that I have on him is only 172 pounds. He's got to add some weight, or these physical corners in the NFL are just gonna rock his world. But as of right now, I have him at number 9. Moving to number 8, we're going over Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, 6'1", 206 pounds. He's got that short area quickness. I really like this wide receiver. He's kind of like just kind of picking his poison, you know. Does he want to go inside? Does he want to go outside? He can attack space very good, and he's a very good route runner. He has the ability to adjust his body, adjust where he wants to go, and which makes him very difficult to guard. This last season, due to some injury issues, but he had 41 receptions, 515 yards, just 4 touchdowns. Had averaged out about 12.6 per catch. You know, he kind of struggled a little bit as the wide receiver number 2 at Ohio State with a downgrade at quarterback. He has a safe floor though, and he can beat zone coverage pretty consistently, which is I think is going to be very beneficial for the NFL in the NFL game. So he's a great blocker as well. I do like what I've seen whenever they're running the ball. He can get his hands on a defender and really seal off some running lanes, which is great. And he has that explosive quickness. My biggest knocks really on Egbuka right now would be his vertical playmaking. You know, he's really in the short, intermediate type of routes. Don't really see him go deep and beating a lot of defenders. So, and he doesn't have really good contested catches. He needs to be able to beat this defender if he's going to make a nice catch. You don't really see him going up there and winning any of those 50-50 balls. So let's move right along to number 7. We're going over Troy Franklin, the wide receiver out of Oregon, 6'3", 187 pounds. I really do like this wide receiver. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to hear me talk about Troy Franklin quite a bit this offseason. His movement skills and being a space creator is absolutely excellent. His yards after the catch ability, I love. You know, he can catch it, he can make anything happen in any given play. You know, he had a career year with Bo Nix out there. 8 games, he had over 100 yards receiving. 80% of the snaps he came on the outside, which I absolutely love, only about 20% into the slot. He's consistent with great hands and can go up and just grab the ball. Think about more like a AJ Green back in the day when he played for Georgia, something like that. He's an absolute threat all over the field with those sticky hands. You know, he's a true threat to score on any given play. He's got that explosive burst, you know, with the stop and go ability, which I really love to see. Keeps those cornerbacks' heads on a swivel. Now, if you want to say some knocks, yes, he's got that thin frame, 187 pounds, but, you know, he does have, you know, 6'3", 187. He's going to have a little bit difficulty beating that press coverage against these physical corners in the NFL, like we were just talking about earlier with Xavier Worthy. But Troy Franklin just got that freakish ability about him. I really like him, and I really see a lot of like AJ Green in this guy. So I like Troy Franklin, and he puts him at number 7 for me. Coming at number 6, we're talking about Brock Bowers, the number 1 tight end on my list right now out of Georgia, 6'4", 240 pounds. He's kind of like a baby Gronk. Everybody says baby Gronk with this guy, but it's actually true. He's really been the best tight end in college football since he was a freshman. The dude is a freak of nature in the pass game. He could be a top 15 NFL pick, and he's extremely athletic, which would make him very, very warranted in fantasy football. He's got soft hands. He's got good tracking ability. I love seeing him. He's got the focus. You know, any type of over-the-shoulder throws, fingertip catches, he can do it all. He's able to win in those contested catch situations. Now, we have to talk about Brock Bowers and the undersize he has for a tight end. He does struggle in run blocking. You could see him kind of get pushed around, but you know, we know that tight ends really aren't known for their blocking abilities. But if you want to have a nice secured tight end for fantasy football, he needs to be on the field at all times, and that means he needs to be able to block. So he needs to add a little bit more weight, a little bit more strength to help him in that run blocking ability. He's undersized, you know, from the average NFL tight end, 6'4", 240 pounds. So the only other thing I can really say about Brock Bowers, because we already know, I mean, he's phenomenal. He's going to be an absolutely phenomenal play, but not to say there's sometimes that he just runs a bit upright instead of having that solid bend in his hips to really get much explosive. He could probably be a much better route runner if he would just bend down a little bit and run with some authority. I think he'd be a lot better. Sometimes I just see him running upright a little bit too much for my liking. So let's move over here to the top 5 here at number 5. We're going over Caleb Williams at number 5 here. 6'1" quarterback, you know, 216 pounds. He's really a generational type of talent. Everybody has been saying this since, you know, all season long. Thought he was even going to win the Heisman before Jaden Daniels won it as well. But he improvises on the fly quite a bit. He's actually pretty successful with that, but sometimes it can kind of get him in a little bit of trouble though. He's very athletic. You know, his progression through his reads are really elite, and he tends to find the open man quite easily, which everybody is drooling over Caleb Williams right now. So he has a strong ability to escape pressure, and he really extends the play, which could be sometimes even a negative in a situation. Some of the things I really don't like about Caleb Williams, he throws across the field way too much. He needs to have some better anticipation when throwing to his wide receivers. And sometimes, you know, it's amazing anticipation. Other times, I'm kind of wondering what the heck was he thinking out there. So sometimes he just tries to do too much. He's really playing that quote-unquote hero ball because he has tons of confidence in his ability, just like I don't know, like a Patrick Mahomes does. You know, you can see that Patrick Mahomes-esque type of play that he puts forward to. So this can lead to a lot of mistakes on the field, which we have seen in college. So it's just the growing pains of a quarterback. But Caleb Williams has all the tools of the trade to be fantastic. The only other thing that I would say about Caleb Williams that I wish he would just work on a little bit is that, you know, he throws off the back foot. You know, when he's facing a lot of pressure, he doesn't like to really step into his throws sometimes, and that can lead him into a lot of trouble. But overall, I know that there were some negatives in there, but Caleb Williams is going to be a phenomenal quarterback. He's shown very good in college. There's a lot of question marks that I have right now, which doesn't make him the top quarterback on my board, which that means I'm going to number 4 right now in Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback, 6'4", 210 pounds. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about fantasy football on this channel, and fantasy football means you need to have a high floor, and that is what Daniels gives you. He's a prime time dual threat quarterback, very explosive, elusive runner. He's got that nice, smooth throwing motion and release point. He had 3,812 yards passing with 40 touchdowns alongside that rushing ability, 1,134 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns on the ground. What can I say about that? It's phenomenal. When you want a fantasy football quarterback, that is what you're wanting. You know, he leads his targets with anticipation and touch. He's very poised in the pocket under pressure. I love his footwork when you see him working through his progressions, especially when the line is blocking for him. You could just see his foot or his feet just chopping it up and ready to make that throw at any given point. The one thing I have to say about Jaden Daniels that I wish he can get a little bit better on, which is it's just going to take a little bit of practice, but he needs that deep ball accuracy. Sometimes he can be strong arm it a little bit too much, or you kind of noodle arm it a little bit. But as long as he can get that accuracy downfield, I think Jaden Daniels is the complete package. I have him as my number 1 quarterback on the season as of right now. Move over here to number 3. Let's go and go over Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington here. 6'3", 215-pound wide receiver. I love some Odunze. I think he's an absolutely electric wide receiver. It wasn't for the other 2 wide receivers on this list, Odunze could be the number 1 wide receiver in many draft classes. So he has that X wide receiver size, right? He has good play strength. It doesn't seem like too many people are really knocking him off of his route. He has that ability to high point with a big catch radius as well. 81 81 receptions, 1,428 yards, and 13 touchdowns, which gives him a 17.6 average. And again, somebody who really plays that X wide receiver. 75% of his plays were played on the outside, only 25 into the slot. So he should be a first-round pick. I'm looking at anywhere between the mid to late first round. He was very productive with Michael Penix the last 2 seasons. And what I do like when I was watching some of the film with Odunze is he really can exploit zone coverage by finding those holes with little to no effort, which I do enjoy watching. He's just an excellent route runner. If I had to say there's some problems with Odunze, he really needs to work on his yards after the catch, elusiveness. It seems like once he catches the ball, he gets tackled pretty quickly. He doesn't really have the ability to make a move or make a juke move to really get loose and to keep going after he makes the catch. But you know, we're at this point, we're just kind of picking at little small things. I love some Rome Odunze. Coming at number 2, we're going over Malik Neighbors, the LSU wide receiver, 6 foot, 200 pounds. You know, he's a yards after the catch type of guy, very explosive playmaker, versatile skill set. I mean, this guy, Malik Neighbors, is a generational talent as well. I think I love watching this guy play, and I think, to be honest with you, he may even have a higher ceiling than Marvin Harrison Jr does, which we'll go over him here in a minute. But I just love Malik Neighbors and what he can provide to you, not only for an NFL team, but for your fantasy team. I think he steps in day one and become an immediate impact for your team. He has elite ball skills, elite ball tracking ability. As an LSU fan myself, I'm watching this guy play, and I'm absolutely falling in love with him. Just the way he gets in and out of his routes, and he's just rocking and rolling, man. He can make all the catches. The one thing I have to say about him, though, is the drops ability. He's dropping way too many balls to be as elite as he is. Now, it's not like a crazy amount of balls, but he does drop a high amount of his balls. He needs to get better on that. And then he kind of lacks his route advancement right now. He only has a few routes that he does that very, very proficient, but he needs to work on his on the kind of the route advancement, how he progresses through those routes. So 86 receptions on 1,546 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns, which ends up giving him an 18-yard average. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. The good thing that I do like about Malik Neighbors is he can play anywhere. He can play on the outside, he can play on the inside. He actually played 43% out wide. He played 57% inside the slot. So I know a lot of NFL teams like to use slot wide receivers. Malik Neighbors could be that guy. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and over to the number 1 guy here, Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. I think he is a consensus across the board. Everybody knows how good this guy is. I mean, he's an elite prospect. What else can we say about this guy? He's the best wide receiver to come out in years. He checks out all the boxes to be an elite wide receiver in the NFL. 67 receptions, 1,211 yards, 14 touchdowns, which gives him an 18.1 average. It's absolutely phenomenal. He is a freak athlete. He's a technician. Let's just think about like Calvin Johnson. He's like a Megatron 2.0. The dude is absolutely phenomenal. 84% of his plays were on out wide, only 16% in the slot. And you know why? 6'4" body frame. Of course, he's going to be on the outside, just dominating corners. If we have to nitpick here, let's talk about yards after the catch production. You don't really see him catching the ball and really breaking it because he doesn't have a lot of speed. So he's not a very like a 4.2 40 type of guy, blazer. He's just a guy that's going to be, you know, out muscling everybody else in the NFL. Hopefully, there's not going to be a lot of corners that's going to be able to guard Marvin Harrison. Let's talk about his pedigree. His dad, Marvin Harrison, played for the Colts and Peyton Manning and all that. And Marvin Harrison had quite a good career, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will also have a good career. As always, thank you for watching the video, guys, as we keep pumping out videos each and every week to help prepare you for your 2024 fantasy football draft. We're going over rookies here. It doesn't matter if you're playing in Superflex or one quarterback league, dynasty leagues, PPR leagues, standard leagues. It doesn't matter. We have you covered here at the Bayou Bengal Fantasy Network. Can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.